The quiet town of Yorkton in the province of Saskatchewan was shaken by a mysterious event. 16-year-old Mikayla Burly, a resident of the town, vanished without a trace one April morning in 2016. Her family, friends, and the police struggled to unravel the mystery of her disappearance. The morning of April 12 seemed ordinary. Mikayla was getting ready for school with her mom Paula, and then her grandmother drove her granddaughter to Secret Heart High School, located near Hopkins Lake. But it soon became clear that this day would be far from routine. At 10 in the morning, Shelby, Mikayla's friend, received a cryptic message from her asking for help. "Hey, I need help." However, Shelby didn't see the text in time, as she had left her phone at home when going to school. When she returned, she found another message from Mikayla, sent 20 minutes later. "Never mind. I figured it out myself." This was the last thing anyone close to the girl received from her. It later became known that Mikayla had left school without waiting for her grandmother. On the day of her disappearance, she had mentioned to friends about possible trips to Moose Jaw or Prince Albert, as well as a family vacation in Regina. Some noticed her strange behavior online, where she mentioned a guy named Josh but didn't go into details. Her school teacher noticed that Mikayla seemed upset during classes. In the evening, Paula tried unsuccessfully to contact her daughter. At first, she assumed that she might be at her music lessons, as she was preparing for a concert. But Mikayla was not at the music school. Soon, the girl's grandmother ran to Paula at work with the news of her granddaughter's disappearance. The police immediately took on the case. First of all, the investigators tried to reconstruct Mikayla's last hours before her disappearance. It turned out that she had asked a friend to take her to the bank, where she called TD support several times, checked her balance, and transferred $25. But these actions shed no light on what had happened to the girl. At Paula's home, the police also found no hint of Mikayla's plans to go anywhere. The money from the emergency piggy bank and the phone charger were left in place. This contradicted the version of a long-term departure from the city. The official statement about the disappearance came from Paula Burly on the evening of April 12. Returning home to get her daughter's photo for the search, the woman was filled with fear. No traces of Mikayla's plans, and the more Paula thought, the fewer answers she found. Between 8 and 9 in the evening, Mikayla sent messages to friends and her ex-boyfriend. She wrote that she needed help but didn't specify what kind. She also mentioned some young man who sympathized with someone and cried. Her ex-boyfriend recalled that Mikayla had talked about being unhappy and wanting to leave town for a few days. Her friend Amy recalled the name Christopher, a person who was supposedly going to come to Saskatchewan to meet with Mikayla. The police carefully studied the events on the eve of the disappearance. On April 11, the girl had lunch with friends, with whom she shared thoughts about traveling. Her behavior seemed strange, but no one attached much importance to it. After lunch, Mikayla returned to school, where the teacher noticed her depressed state. Communicating with the police, friends and relatives tried to recall as many details as possible. Some mentioned her talk about Josh and Christopher, who was supposedly coming. These mentions added mystery to the case but did not provide a clear answer. The story of Mikayla Burly's disappearance turned into a puzzle for Yorkton. Her loved ones still cannot comprehend what happened that day. Shortly after the disappearance, the police focused on the girl's contacts and her possible plans, but the solution is still far away. Mikayla's mysterious disappearance became one of the most unusual events for the cozy town of Yorkton. The investigation began with conflicting testimonies and many questions for which there were no answers. Each new detail only heightened the overall tension. The first key moment occurred on the day of the disappearance. Surveillance cameras recorded Mikayla near the school around 3 in the afternoon. It seemed that she was waiting for someone. This fact immediately attracted the attention of the police, because Paula, the girl's mother, claimed that her daughter never missed classes, including violin lessons. 4 hours later, Paula officially informed law enforcement about Mikayla's disappearance. An analysis of Mikayla's phone data yielded no significant leads. By the next day, by 7 in the morning, her phone was turned off. A check of the calls revealed no hints of her plans. The only thing that caught the investigators' attention was the girl's activity in the apps Snapchat, Instagram, and Kik, known for their anonymity. However, the investigation in this direction was complicated by limitations in access to data from such services. Some of Mikayla's friends knew that she communicated online with people from other cities and even countries, in particular with a man from the United States. 2 days later, the police turned to the public for help. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police released a description of the missing girl: height 157.5 centimeters, weight 56.7 kilograms, light hair, blue eyes. She was last seen in a burgundy or purple coat, a neck scarf, and jeans. The community rallied for the search. The mayor noted that the disappearance of the schoolgirl caused great concern among the residents. The investigation began to uncover unexpected facts. Oksana, Mikayla's friend, told the police that shortly before her disappearance, she had mentioned allegedly having $5,000. However, a check of the financial information did not confirm this statement. An Instagram message was also found, published a few weeks before the incident, in which Mikayla asked to add her as a friend on Snapchat. The investigators were most interested in a man named Christopher from North Carolina. His name was mentioned in Mikayla's conversations and was known to her friends. One of them recalled that the girl had talked about Christopher's intention to come to Saskatchewan. Christopher himself stated in an interview that he had previously helped people with psychological problems, in particular with self-harm, but refused to go into details. The police conducted an interrogation and a search of his house but found no evidence of involvement in the case. Information about Mikayla's family added complexity. Some friends claimed that she wanted to find her biological father, who was believed to be dead. Later, a man named Rick stated that he might be her father. The police searched his house, took DNA samples, but found no connection to the girl's disappearance. Additional events only deepened the mystery of the case. Shortly before her disappearance, Mikayla had mentioned someone named Josh, but the police were never able to establish who she was talking about. Also, a week before the incident, she was delivered a bouquet of roses, the sender of which was found later. The police stated that this person had nothing to do with the investigation. Each new detail raised new questions that had yet to be answered. The investigation continued, but many mysteries remained unsolved. Mikayla's disappearance aroused great interest not only from her family but from the entire community. The course of the investigation began with conflicting facts, which only complicated the work of law enforcement. One of the first leads was a message from Shelby sent via Snapchat. 3 months after Mikayla's disappearance, this message was read, which sparked a new wave of hope. However, Shelby's subsequent messages, sent on graduation day, remained unanswered. This only heightened the family's anxiety, which tirelessly continued the search. At the time the case was transferred to the General Investigations Department (JIC), the police focused on examining Mikayla's contacts with unknown men. Eyewitnesses claimed to have seen her at the bus station on the day of her disappearance, where a burly man with a burning cross tattoo was nearby. This man was thoroughly searched for, but it turned out that he had only held the door for her and had nothing to do with her disappearance. At the same time, investigators checked data from social networks and Mikayla's bank records. However, the absence of a digital footprint was alarming. In our time, this is almost a nonsense, which only added mystery to her disappearance. At the same time, the police thoroughly studied the version of booking a hotel room, as Mikayla may have planned to stay in the city. However, no one saw her in the hotels, and surveillance cameras did not record her attempts to check in. Mikayla's family members tried to support each other, but life without her turned into an endless wait. They organized round-the-clock shifts by the phone, hoping for any call. For Mother Paula, her daughter's disappearance became a personal tragedy. She felt that she had failed to protect Mikayla and ensure her safety. Paula expressed hope that the reward announced by the family would help attract attention and provide new information. The amount of the reward reached $25,000 thanks to the combined efforts of the community and the organization Crime Stoppers, among other initiatives. The fact emerged that Mikayla had allegedly mentioned having aceclidone. However, after checking the information, the police found out that it was actually Accutane, a common acne medication. A neighbor also recalled that shortly before the disappearance, Mikayla had talked about having $1 in her account, although a check showed that her words were a fabrication. Additional data on the activation of a child search alert in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Alberta drew new attention to the case. However, this measure did not yield the expected results. The police continued to receive messages from citizens, but none of the 38 checked leads were confirmed. For months, the Yorkton community supported the family by organizing actions and events. Children's groups, teenagers, and churches raised funds and demonstrated incredible solidarity. Despite the efforts, each new day without news only deepened the feeling of helplessness among Mikayla's relatives. The key remained the understanding that the investigation had reached a dead end. Mikayla could be anywhere, but without new data, finding her became increasingly difficult. The investigation continued, but neither the police nor the family could answer the main question: what happened to Mikayla? The events surrounding the disappearance of Mikayla Burly were chaotic and emotionally exhausting for her family, but attempts to find the girl did not stop, despite the lack of tangible results. The search began with reports of her possible appearance. One of the first such cases was information that Mikayla was allegedly seen at the Metro Town Mall in British Columbia. Despite the lack of any confirmation, Paula, the girl's mother, immediately went there. She distributed flyers, talked to visitors and mall staff, but again to no avail. This was not the only false lead. Similar reports came from Vancouver, Calgary, and Edmonton, but none of them led to finding Mikayla. The search also extended to disadvantaged areas. In Vancouver, Paula visited the eastern part of downtown, known for its difficult situation due to high levels of homelessness and drug problems. Despite her fears that Mikayla might end up in such a place, Paula did not stop searching. She visited shelters, spoke with local residents, but again found nothing. The family tried to cope with the emotional burden. Every day without news about Mikayla was a real test. Her brother and sister had a hard time getting used to life without her. For Paula, accepting the situation was especially difficult. She took a leave of absence from work to focus on finding her daughter. And she considered it her maternal duty never to give up. She stressed that people do not disappear without a trace and believed that someone knew what happened. The investigation officially reached a new level a year after the disappearance. In April 2017, Mikayla's case was transferred to a unit of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police that specializes in cold cases. This decision reflected the complexity of the situation and the lack of progress in the search. Paula faced the social consequences of her daughter's disappearance. She said that no one can understand how devastating such an event can be for a family until they find themselves in a similar situation. Even everyday things like dinner or trying to fall asleep reminded us of the void left by Mikayla. For months there were many false leads. Among them was information that Mikayla was allegedly seen in Burnaby. This lead, like others, was not confirmed. However, Paula continued to believe in the need to verify any information, considering it her duty to use every opportunity to find her daughter. Society supported the family. Events and actions were organized in various cities of Canada to help search for Mikayla. Paula noted that it might take a whole country to find one person and was grateful for the help of all those who responded. Despite all the efforts, the situation remained uncertain. Mikayla was last seen at the bus station in Yorkton at night. Since then, no confirmed data on her whereabouts had appeared. Each new day brought more and more questions without answers. Paula had no doubt that Mikayla needed help and considered it her maternal duty to continue the fight, despite the lack of clarity and results. In August 2019, Paula received a call from a man who claimed to have seen Mikayla a few months earlier, in March, near a nightclub in Edmonton. He said he had struck up a conversation with a young woman who introduced herself as Mikayla. According to him, she looked naive and did not fit into the environment. This message prompted Paula to contact the police again, but, as in most cases, this lead did not bring any concrete results. Let's go back to July 2017. A team of divers began surveying Hopkins Lake, located behind Secret Heart High School. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police stated that this was a standard procedure as part of checking all possible scenarios, including accidents. However, the lake did not provide any clues as to Mikayla's whereabouts. A year later, in March 2018, Mikayla's family launched the Ray of Hope campaign to increase the reward for any information about her whereabouts to $50,000. Mikayla's mother Paula began actively speaking at events dedicated to the search for missing children. She emphasized the need to create task forces, as in the United States, for a more effective response. At the same time, thousands of posters with Mikayla's image were posted throughout Canada and the United States to remind people of her disappearance. By 2020, the amount of the reward for information was halved after one of the major donors withdrew their funds. In one of her Facebook posts, Paula expressed gratitude for any support but also shared her frustration with the lack of results. Despite all the efforts, going back to the events of August 15, 2017, it is worth noting that the search of Hopkins Lake was just one of many steps taken by the police, which, in Paula's opinion, did not yield tangible results. During the 14 months following her daughter's disappearance, about 240 leads were received, but none of them led to a breakthrough. This caused deep frustration in Paula. She often said that she could not accept that the police had not received new information in such a long time. On July 1, 2018, on Mikayla's birthday, the family organized a charity event to draw attention to the search. This date, like many others, was especially difficult for Paula. She admitted that on such days, the hope for unexpected news from her daughter becomes almost unbearable. Against the backdrop of all these events, in March 2018, Paula continued to advocate for the reorganization of the approach to searching for missing children in Canada, proposing to use the experience of the United States. This concerned not only professional search operations but also general support for families who find themselves in a similar situation. The National Center for Missing Children in July 2017 suggested that Mikayla could have left Canada and gone to the United States, possibly to Portland or Seattle. However, no confirmation of this version ever appeared. By 2019, 2 years after the disappearance, expectations were changing with short bursts of hope. Each new message could be a turning point, but time after time it turned out to be a dead end. In 2022, the Saskatchewan Police, together with the Washington State Patrol, launched an initiative under the Homeward Bound program designed to search for missing persons. Photos of Mikayla, accompanied by age progression, were placed on semi-trailers of trucks traveling between Mexico and Vancouver. This program, initiated back in 2005 by Washington State Patrol Officer Renee Paget, was aimed at raising awareness about missing persons. Mikayla's photo on these trucks became a symbol of resilience and hope for her family. Since the launch of the program, photos of 32 missing children have been posted, 3 of whom were found alive. 5 years after Mikayla's disappearance, her family organized a ceremony near the high school where she studied. Participants began with prayers and a moment of silence, after which anyone who wanted to could share memories and words of support. This event turned out to be very emotional, but no new leads about Mikayla's whereabouts emerged. 6 years have passed since the disappearance, and at a press conference dedicated to this event, it was announced that the amount of the reward was increased to $100,000 for any information that could help in the search, thanks to anonymous donations. Yorkton Mayor Mitch Hipsley noted how important this case has become for the community. "We are all in this together, we are one big family, we really feel that way, we are a small community, and that's what we do." Despite all efforts, over 600 leads and messages did not lead to real progress in the search. One of the alarming aspects of this case was related to the inability to access Mikayla's social media accounts. For a long time, the police could not access her data on Instagram and Snapchat because these companies are registered in the United States, where data protection laws are very strict. It took 10 months to gain access to the accounts, and the amount of information collected was enormous, 1,000 pages that needed analysis, which took even more time, and work with this data was carried out with the support of other police units. In honor of Mikayla's 20th birthday, her family held a gathering aimed at drawing attention to the problem of missing children in Saskatchewan. Mikayla's mother Paula spoke about the fears faced by the families of the missing, fears that their children will become just statistics, that the memory of them will be forgotten. About 25 people attended the event, and Paula called on the government to provide more support to families who have lost their loved ones. Years after the disappearance, the police still could not offer any theories that would explain what exactly happened to Mikayla. The last contact with her was recorded by her friends, after which her phone stopped working. The situation turned out to be especially strange, given modern technologies that usually allow people to stay in touch. Investigators suggested that she could have turned to someone for help, asked for a place to stay or money. This remained one of the few working versions. Mikayla's relatives never stopped looking for her. They relied on social media, traveled to Leeds, called and wrote letters to publications and TV channels under the slogan, "Bring Mikayla Burly home." Her younger brother and sister were especially hard hit. They even stopped playing musical instruments because they could not rejoice until their sister returned home. Mikayla's brother could not pour himself a drink, as he felt deep guilt and fear that Mikayla might be left without food and water. The family did not lose hope, despite the complexity of the situation. Paula, Mikayla's mother, said that her younger children sometimes sit on her lap and say, "Mom, I'm afraid Mikayla will forget us." She always answered them, "She will never forget you, and we will never forget her." The determination of Paula and the whole family in these conditions continued to be an example of resilience and strength of spirit. On the 6th anniversary of Mikayla's disappearance, another press conference was held, at which information was announced about an increase in the amount of the reward for any information that could help in the search, thanks to community support and anonymous donations. The amount of the reward reached $100,000. However, this did not bring a significant breakthrough. The number of leads exceeded 1,000, but all of them ultimately proved to be fruitless. In 2023, Mikayla's family continued to hold actions and events dedicated to her search. All free minutes went to using social networks, traveling to different places, answering calls and letters. Mikayla's mother continued to believe that her daughter would be found. She always said, "Hold on, we're looking for you. Run home when you can." Over time, Mikayla's story became one of the most talked about in the community. The Saskatchewan Police and the Washington State Patrol launched a program in which photos of Mikayla were placed on semi-trailers traveling across North America as part of efforts to find her. These photos became a reminder to everyone that Mikayla's disappearance is not just a case, but a tragedy that has affected many people. To this day, investigators have not been able to find any evidence that could shed light on Mikayla's fate. Officers like Cam Sturt keep coming back to this case in their thoughts. They admit that it's hard to spend so much time on an investigation and just stop looking. Hope remains, and they are always on standby, ready to respond to any new information. I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Until next time, friends.